fun every once in a while you're doing this hobby wrong. Well, afternoon everybody. I have had an overwhelming number of requests as of late from various sources about people inquiring about how we did the cooling fan installation on the old LS Swap Ford Ranger. So I figured I'd do a quick once over. Not necessarily a full how-to, but maybe somewhat of a one-take video describing what we've done here. What the heck is that up there? Alright, so what we have here is a dual 11-inch electric fan assembly that is sold through Top Street Performance. Offshore, of course. From what I can tell, this fan assembly looks nearly identical to the fan assembly that Be Cool sells to match this radiator. This is a LS Swap specific radiator sold by Be Cool. This fan assembly may fit this radiator perfectly, but it doesn't just like bolt on. You have to make your own brackets and stuff. 2800 CFM, like I said, dual motors. It does have these auxiliary like rubber flaps for when you're cruising down the highway. They'll blow open. Your fans won't be running, of course, and that'll help with the high-speed cooling. Then when you're below 20 miles an hour, or maybe even 35 miles an hour, and the fans are engaged, these will literally suck shut, and then that forces the ducting of the fans to do their thing. My brackets are literally just some crude, like 14 gauge steel that I had that I bent into a Z shape, and I did my best to make them attach to the same brackets as the radiator mounts. And then so my Z shape comes back, and then in the fan housing, the shroud, in the corners, there's like 5/16 holes cast into the plastic, or molded into the plastic. So then I welded some bolts with just shanks sticking out like that far to engage into the hole in the plastic. So the bolt is acting like a pin. There's one at each corner of the fan attached to the radiator brackets. It's pretty solid. It's a little flimsy in the middle, but that hasn't proven to be a problem right here where there's... So this is two single fans riveted together. Let me make that point. So you can get a replacement individual fan, I believe, if you ever had a fan fail and you could just change one side. I will say that I added rivets and washers, or screws, nuts, and washers down this center line here, even beyond how it was delivered, because I wanted this to be a little bit more rigid, and it helped a tremendous amount. Not sure if we can see down the passenger side, but way down there in the bottom is our other bracket for the passenger side, and then here's the upper one. They're all built exactly the same, using the bolt as a pin. And then I have some hard density foam acting as a little bit of a shock absorber to keep constant tension on the cooling fan. I've got that foam in all four corners. We're running F-body spacing for our accessories. So this is a Camaro water pump, and it's given us good clearance between the water pump pulley and the fans. So that worked out perfectly. I haven't had any problems with cooling, but to be fair, the hottest day that this new engine combination has been in is maybe 65 degrees. So I'm confident though when we get into the summer temps of 90 plus that it'll be just fine. As of yet, I have not had the second fan kick on. There's a lot of different ways you can wire this fan, and I'll show you the schematic that came with the relay kit that I bought. I have it set in more of an OEM fashion where the vast majority of the time we're only running off of this fan right here, and that fan is set to a different temperature. So as far as wiring goes, I went on to my lovely Amazon and I bought a specific dual fan relay kit. They're very common, sold by 100 different Chinese outfitters. I think the one that I used was called Zozo Motors of all things. So here's our relays. I've got them marked. Fuses next to each other, relays. The fans are getting direct power off of this battery cable post in our power distribution box. So these go to the relays, from the relays down through this wire harness here, and then into our fan motors. And then our fan motors are grounded to this. Man, the lighting's not good right now. The fan motors are grounded right there to that chassis ground. I am running a OEM 411 style 2002 Camaro PCM, tuned with HP tuners, self-tuned, and I'm using the fan controls in that PCM to run these fans like an OEM setup would be. And like I said earlier, I have them split. The way this works is you got fan 1 and fan 2, two different color wires coming down this harness, going to this relay setup. Those wires coming from that PCM are ground. They provide ground to the coils in the relays to trip the fans. So they don't provide power, they provide ground. You provide the key on power from an ignition source, which I stole from the factory Ranger harness. So when the system's all configured, it literally runs like OEM. It's absolutely beautiful. I have my primary number 1 fan to come on at 206 degrees, and then I have it turn off at 197 degrees, and it has no problem staying in that window. And obviously if you're cruising down the highway, the fans aren't on at all. If you're running the heater a lot in the wintertime, the fan never comes on because the heater's doing all the cooling. One of the reasons I have the driver's side fan configured to be the number 1 fan is because I have my power steering cooler, which is just kind of hanging in here right now, and my pretty large automatic transmission cooler. Can't really see it in there, but those are on this side of the radiator. So if I am sitting in traffic, I get a good bit of airflow going through these coolers plus the radiator. My secondary fan is set to come on at like 215 degrees and then turn off at 208 degrees or something like that. I've never seen that fan run yet, other than toggling it on manually with my HP tuner scanner. All of this, like I said, is based off the OEM computer, which is utilizing the factory temperature sender. There's ways you could do this more mechanical using a secondary sender and all this stuff, but in my case, I saw no reason not to configure it as OEM. So let's go ahead and start this thing up, and we'll get her warmed up a little bit. I want you guys to be able to hear how loud this Top Street Performance fan is. It'll just be the one side running. It's really quite pleasant. Inside the cab, you can barely hear that fan running. So I'm pretty happy about that. see, we're at 132 degrees right now. It's going to take a minute to heat up to temperature. Go for a little rip around the block. That'll get some heat put back in her. One of these days I want to do a video on this shifter. A lot of people don't know that shifter exists, but it's a very, very nice shifter for the money. Got to have a little fun every once in a while. You're doing this hobby wrong. It's probably like 55 degrees outside today. I got the heater turned off and it still doesn't want to get up over 200 yet. So we're going to cheat it up there a little bit. Already. Plus we're cheating a little bit because the hood's wide open. And there you go. Turned off all on its own. So I think that's about all I got for you on this video. So if you got any questions, comments, concerns, put them down in the comments below and let me know what you think. Always use constructive criticism, so don't hurt my feelings if there's some way you would have done it differently or better, or whatever the case might be. But until then, we'll see you on the next one.